Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo Virtual Worship. My name is Joan Montagnes, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving you, this congregation, as minister. It is wonderful to be together. I want to give you a few Zoom tips on worshiping together. First of all, we can't see you, you can't see each other, we can't hear you, you can't hear each other. But Ken Manley, our worship associate, and I will be on screen and you'll be able to hear and see us. You can, however, chat to one another, as many of you have discovered, all the way through the service and into our virtual fellowship hour after the service. Also, I want you to be aware that if you direct your chat just to the panelists, only Ken and I will see it, and John Petroselli, who's our technician. If you direct your chat to all of the attendees as well, then you'll be addressing the congregation. So if you say good morning, you want to address maybe the whole congregation. Special thanks go to Karen Streech, Bobby Withrow, and all our music staff who enrich our worship together every Sunday. Few announcements. I hope by now you have enjoyed some of the pictures that have been going up on the screen that Karen Streech puts up on the screen with our music and other events. And for those pictures, she's pulling them out of her stock, but you might have some photos of congregational members or pictures of the church squirreled around somewhere that you would like to share with us on a Sunday morning. So if so, please send them to me or Karen Streech. Next announcement. General Assembly is going online this year for obvious reasons, and that makes it a very inexpensive and easy way to take part in worship, decision-making, skill building, and celebration with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists from around the world. There's really nothing like it. And we encourage you to go and register. The fee is only $150 this year. It hasn't been this low in decades and decades. If you are interested in being a delegate for our congregation, let me know. Being a delegate means that you get to vote in the business. And also, we have some funds set aside for scholarships and also for any youth members who would like to go and be youth delegates. Finally, a quick reminder that we have lots and lots of things going on at the church. Just because we are practicing safe distancing doesn't mean we've stopped building community. We have lots of activities going on, not at the physical church, but in our Zoom experience of the church throughout the week. So check the newsletter and the e-blast, and you'll find out all about them. And if you have trouble hooking into them, let me know and I will hook you up. Let's continue to build those bonds. Welcome, welcome everybody. Let's now take a deep breath in, let it out. Let's take this time now to enter our worship.
Let us call ourselves to worship with these words from Amy Carroll Webb. We meet in the spaces between us. Stillness, music, heard or unheard, the apparent void, teeming with the you and the I that overlap in this one sacred moment. We meet in the spaces between us. Come, let us worship together.
I like to light a candle or a chalice or a tea light when I start a worship service, when I gather with any of you, because I set that time aside as sacred, as holy, as different from all other time. And so I'm going to take this candle, which I have, and you can take your candles from whatever part of your home you might have found them in a closet somewhere, and just light it now. Maybe. There we go. And we can see our chalice lighting words together. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves, to create a more just and compassionate world. Let's sing together. Gather the Spirit.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Once upon a time, there was a land, a lot like Buffalo, but in this land, nobody had any shoes. It wasn't that nobody could afford shoes or find them in the shops. It was just that nobody invented shoes yet, that nobody had invented the shoe. During the summer, it was all right. Everyone ran around barefoot and life was good. But in the winter, everyone's toes were so cold that they just sat by the fire and waited for the long months to drag on into spring. Well, in that land, which was a lot like Buffalo, there was a king who cared deeply for the people, but he wasn't very wise. He knew the people were unhappy and had cold toes, but he didn't have the first idea how to help them. One day, though, in early spring, on a day much like today, the king went out to the lake to fish for his dinner. He cast in his line and reeled it in when he felt a big bite, and he hauled in an enormous fish. Enormous fish. Oh, you're going to be delicious, said the king. No, 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 please don't eat me, cried the fish. If you let me go, I will grant you 3 wishes. Right, said the king. And how am I supposed to trust you? What if I throw you back and you just swim away? Then I'll be without my dinner and without my wishes. And the fish replied, I will grant you one wish now. And if it comes true, you can let me go knowing the others will follow. So the king thought long, and he thought hard, and he thought from his nose, all the way down to his toes. And then he realized his toes were very cold, and he said, Aha! I wish I had coverings for my feet to keep my feet warm and safe. Poof! Instantly, the king's feet were covered by these things that had laces on the top, and they had flat soles on the bottom, and his toes felt very safe and warm, and they were very comfortable. His wish had been granted, so he thanked the fish and let it go with a splash. The king looked down at his new foot coverings and said, I will call these shoes. And they were. The king was very pleased with his shoes, but he was not yet wise. Over the days that followed, the king noticed that the people were still unhappy and they still had cold feet. And he noticed something else. The people had begun grumbling because the king had shoes, but they all had bare toes still, and their toes were cold. The king had 2 wishes left, so he thought long and he thought hard. And he thought from his nose, right down to his toes, which were very warm and safe in his wonderful shoes. And he said, Aha, at last. I wish all the people in the land had shoes just like mine. Poof! Instantly, all the people in the land had shoes just like the king's. The king was very pleased with himself for caring so well for the people, but he was not yet wise. You see, the king's shoes fit the king's feet, and all the people of the land now had shoes just like the king's. For some people, the king's shoes were too big. For some people, they were too small. And for a very small number of people, the shoes were just right. Even though all the people of the land had exactly the same shoes, equal shoes, most people still had toes that were cold and uncomfortable. The king had one wish left, so he thought long and he thought hard And he thought from his nose, all the way down to his toes, which were warm and safe in his shoes that fit him, but not all the people. Aha, said the king at last. I know what to wish for. I wish all the people in the realm had shoes that fit their feet and make them happy and keep them safe and warm. Poof! Instantly, all the people in the land were wearing shoes that fit them perfectly. Everyone's feet were comfortable, everyone's toes were safe and warm, and all the shoes were different. Some were brown, some were black, some jumped forward, some jumped back. Some had flowers, some had stripes, some had high tops, some had lights, some had laces, some had Velcro, some ran races, some just strolled slow. Everyone was happy with their own shoes. The land was a much more exciting and joyful place, and the king was very pleased with himself for caring so well for the people. But mostly he thought long and hard and wondered if he was slowly becoming wise. This month, what we're doing with our Share the Plate offering is giving all our sharing our plate with the ministerial discretionary plan. Sorry, I'm a little distracted here. Ministerial discretionary fund. The reason we're doing this is because COVID-19 is disproportionately hitting people of color, people with disabilities, the impoverished, all the people who are traditionally marginalized in our society. It's hitting those folks the hardest, the people who are always hit hard by our systems in society. And so we're hoping to build up the ministerial discretionary fund at the church so that that money can be used to support those in need in our community. Your gifts can be paid as you see there. If you write share on the memo line, it will be shared between the church operating budget and the ministerial discretionary fund. If you write pledge on the memo line, it will go towards your pledge. I think that's enough of the offering. This is entitled, Who is Welcome? By Kristen Harper. Everyone wants a seat at the table. Blacks, Latinos, Asians, the poor, the disabled, gays, lesbians. Where are all the straight, white, moderate men supposed to sit? I'm not prejudiced. I'm just asking. And what table are they talking about? Mine only seats 8. And there has service only for 10. I mean, that's it. You'll have to wait your turn. Can you imagine if we let just anyone sit at our table? Why, we might have people who can't tell their salad fork from their dinner fork, or people who eat with their hands. I shudder to think. Anyone is welcome at my table in my home, as long as you don't have grease stains on your clothes and have washed your hands before you touch my silverware. Everyone is welcome at my table, as long as you don't try to proselytize me to your religion or your politics, and don't get upset when I question yours. After all, it wasn't my faith that taught me to eat Jesus and drink his blood. Come on in, I say, but don't make fun of my Pan-African sculptures and paintings mixed with chintzy curio precious moment figurines. And if you don't dress up and don't have every hair in place, and you don't smell too fresh, you are welcome, but don't sit on the good leather or the new futon cover. Here, let me get you a towel. I'm told the outside shower works very well. Everyone is welcome at my table, as long as you sit still and don't wiggle or interrupt the grown-up conversations. Children should be seen and not heard, but they should be dressed up in bows and satin so they can entertain us. Don't worry if they aren't talented. It only reflects on your upbringing, not mine. Truth is, I don't really have room for you. Maybe next time. Let's join our hearts and minds in a quiet moment of prayer, meditation, and reflection. Let's rest quietly on this forming moment between this and that. Breathe, rest. Let us fall gently into our blessings, the abundance of gifts that life has bestowed upon us. Family, friends, laughter, your good and miraculous body. Let's reach out from our abundance, all those good gifts. Let's reach out from our abundance to those who hunger, those in need of love and companionship, compassion in these difficult days, freedom from prisons, a safety net of healthcare, even the simple gifts of food and shelter, a telephone call. May we fully embrace the sweet and the bitter, sharing times of joy together and allowing ourselves to be carried in times of emptiness. Today, we especially share joy with John Petroselli, who is celebrating his 28th birthday. John is a child of the congregation, but he is also our vice president and our technician on Sunday mornings. So happy birthday, John. So good to have you in the world. And now let us open this worship space to all our friends and family and loved ones and neighbors feeling the effects of this pandemic, feeling fear, loneliness, grief, illness, denial, resilience, recovery, hope. Let us open our worship space to the names of all our loved ones suffering in sorrow and celebrating in joy, each name a breath, each breath a prayer.
May you dare to dream dreams. May
The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The community of love is among us. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen. So 3 guys were shipwrecked on an uncharted island, and they've been there together for many years. And one day a bottle washes up on the shore, they uncork it, and out pops a genie and grants them 3 wishes. The first guy says, "Ah, I wish I was in Paris." And poof, he finds himself in a small cafe by the Eiffel Tower sipping espresso. The second guy says, "I wish I was in London." And he finds himself sipping tea with the Queen and all her corgis in Buckingham Palace. The third guy thinks long and hard before he makes his wish. Night begins to fall. All is quiet beside the lapping of the waves on the shore and some loud, hungry, and frightening noises from the jungle. I'm so scared and lonely. I wish my 2 friends were here. Poof! I wish you guys were here. I wish you were all here. Urgh, I really do. I wish we were in the sanctuary together, our sanctuary. I wish we were singing together. And I wish we were at one of our giant potlucks together with real food, sharing from co created tables, groaning with crock pots and salad bowls and KFC buckets and plates of cupcakes. I see Nicole's bean salad, vegan, Ashley's tater tot topped casseroles, Lauren's brownies, Nate's pulled pork, Jesse's soup, Miss Eileen's cookies, Julie and Tom dishing out ice cream, and much more. I remember a lot of abundance and no fancy style, and everyone welcome at our welcome table. And I'll tell you what, just because we're held captive in our homes, separated by safe distances, we haven't put an end to the communion, our communion. No. I've seen Bonnie drop off cookies by Doris's place, and Charlene brought me some delicious pea soup. Tracy's been sharing chicken soup that fills the belly and the soul, and I left some jammy thumbprint cookies on someone's doorstep. In our community, food is love. All are welcome at our table. Sometimes at our church potlucks, a stranger might drop in, someone who has missed the memo about the time. In fact, I bet this stranger hasn't received a memo at all, but saw the light in the window, maybe indicating hospitality. We're putting away the chairs, clearing the tables. The food is mostly gone. But there's a piece of chicken, a slice of pie, some pasta salad left, enough to fit on a paper plate. Our visitor, who is clearly a visitor and not part of our usual mayhem and merrymaking crowd because of how he looks or wants or needs or something, our visitor chooses to take the meal and leave rather than sit while we wipe the tables down around him. What's going on there? There is a discomfort in this sharing. discomfort in sharing a meal at our welcome table, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I yearn to greet all equally, celebrate the common experience of being human, meet with all in the space where thou and I overlap. But I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. How much wisdom do I need to acquire? And how am I to learn to acquire it so that I can become part of the beloved community? I was once in a place where all were welcomed, the beloved community, the age of mutual respect in a moment of time on earth. Let me give you a little context. In Northeast India, there are a large community of Unitarians, 9,000 souls, and they belong to the Khasi tribe, which was never Hindu, never Muslim, but perhaps is most closely related to some people of Cambodia. In the 19th century, the Khasis discovered Unitarianism. That's about the same time the Unitarians in the United States coalesced into a formal faith community. So the Khasi Unitarians have a faith as old as our own and very different. Well, some years ago, I had the great privilege of visiting the Khasis for a period of mutual learning. During that time, a young woman took her life. One of the community took their own life, and suicide, very unusual in that culture. They didn't know how to manage their grief for this young, beautiful woman. There were all the emotions you would expect when the world shakes and will never be the same again. Deep sadness, remorse, fear, blame, anger, embarrassment, and a lot of confusion. They wanted answers and constructed stories to make meaning of it all. And amidst all of this, they held the funeral. Now, I've been to a lot of funerals. In some cases, especially if the departed was youngish and or famous and had a large family that hadn't moved from town to town during different generations, and in some cases like that, the church fills. We offer a send-off that celebrates life in full and gives the survivors closure. In other cases, in most cases, the small, immediate family and a few friends who could make it show up. The church echoes with loneliness, and I wonder how long we will remember the life of our blessed dead with the love they will deserve. I even know people who say, I don't do memorial services. They are such downers. But in the Kazi Hills, on the morning of the funeral, people began to trickle into the village. Slowly, more and more came. Some had been walking all the previous day and much of the morning through the jungle trails for tens and tens and tens of miles. The trickle of mourners became a stream. Hundreds and hundreds of people gathered outside the home where the girl lay in her coffin. And they were still coming. To the sound of the mother's wailing, eventually the coffin was raised by stoic menfolk into a wagon and the procession flowed like a mighty river of concern and support to the grave, where they watched the family's agony as they laid the girl down in her final resting place. I looked in wonder at all the people, and I thought to myself, my God, they came. They all came. When the funeral was over, the river reversed, and we, the mourners, beyond counting, returned to the house, where, much to my surprise, dinner was being served. A line began to snake slowly out of the crowd. Each person received a plate laden with rice and saucy turmeric chicken stew. No fancy style, no need for silverware, no worrying about where to sit. We ate with our fingers and sat on the ground. There was room for all. You have to understand, though, these people are dirt poor, subsistence farmers with practically no running water and little electricity. And when I asked them in an icebreaker game during one of our exercises, I asked them what their favorite food was. They all said rice, because rice is what they get to eat. Pretty much the only thing they get to eat most of the time. Where they got all this chicken for the funeral, I have no idea. The funeral meal was dished out of massive cauldrons, and when one was emptied, another emerged steaming from the kitchen. As people finished their plates, the plates were washed and returned to the front of the line for the next guest. There was no pushing and shoving. The food never ran out. The plates never ran out. The line seemed to never end. The welcome never ran out, even in a time of deep sadness, fear, remorse, blame, anger, embarrassment, confusion. The welcome never ran out. That space where thou and I overlap, the beloved community, was found and held precious. If I caught a magic fish, or released a genie from a lamp, or had a fairy godmother, or met a leprechaun, these would be my three wishes. First, may we, in our abundance, find a way to share our gifts with those hit hardest during this pandemic: the poor, people of color, people with disabilities, people without health care coverage, healthcare workers and working parents, and so many more. My second wish would be, may we together hear and answer the call of love fully and wholly, accepting the changes that will be required of us. Changes like sitting down with the stranger who has come for a visit, opening our hearts so visitor may become companion. And my third wish would be that we learn together that equality is when everybody has the same thing, while equity is everyone having what they need to be healthy and safe. Those are my three wishes. And with those wishes, may we all learn to become wise. Let's join in singing, answering the call of love.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Let us say together the words, our chalice words. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer comfort to the afflicted, love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. Remember, you are blessed. Remember, you are a blessing. And above all else, remember, you are not alone. You are never alone. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen.